Rich Nagel. I'll be presiding. And would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and welcome again, everyone. We will have roll call. Councilmember Buss.
Here.
Councilmember Sharpie stepped out for the rest of the evening. He was here earlier, but will be absent at the meeting. Councilmember Batcher.
Here.
Councilmember Thomas.
Here.
Councilmember Morgan.
Here.
All right, so 4 council members present, 1 absent. Also at the table with me is City Administrator Newsom to my left. And with that taken care of, does anyone have any changes in the agenda? Changes or additions to the agenda? Okay,
Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
motion by Councilmember Batcher, second by Councilmember Bush to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no? Motion carried. Okay, consent agenda. Oops, just wait, make sure, okay, consent agenda this evening consists of the following. Item A, approval of the bills. Item B, approval of the February 1st, 2021 council minutes. Item C, accepting the resignation of police officer Sarah Daley.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Morgan, second by Councilmember Batcher to accept the, or approve the consent agenda as read. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. I don't think there's anyone, unless there is someone here that wishes to address the council. Is anyone on? No one on, okay. No one wishing to address the council this evening. No announcements. I will move then to communications. Number of items.
Okay, there's a copy of the EDA minutes from January 11th. These are included in the packet just to keep everybody informed so that those who are not on the EDA can see what all the committees are doing. If you have questions about those, let me know. Also included a copy of our loan summary so the council knows what loans were made in 2020. And revolving loan fund money is not part of the levy dollars, that is separate money. And then I called these EDA, but they're planning and zoning minutes, same thing from the last planning and zoning meeting, also included in the packet, so that if you have any questions about anything, please let me know. Then I included a copy, our representative from the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust, that's our insurance company, was out a couple weeks ago already, and he provided this information to us. Myself, the chief of police, Kirby, and Jamie met with him, because we are the areas that see the claims. So he provided a summary. If you have any questions on the summary provided, please let me know. Hold on, I have to make sure that, I believe Attorney Arneson is on Ring Central now. You heard him, yes?
Welcome, Ross.
Did they offer any, so when they're looking at the claims, did they offer any things to try to,
Yes.
yeah?
We'll get to that when I'll
Alright.
scroll through here though. Here's data on the last several years, and see, this one was workers' comp analysis, something we've been talking about earlier. Here's some of the recommendations, and this is something I worked with him last year, he was here in January. Recommendations for policies, etc. They can't make us do any of this, as Troy told us, but they recommend it.
Yeah.
And like we had a discussion about our Christmas decorations, and a good thing to do implement that truck route, which is on the agenda for the second reading this evening. Because we didn't have one, that's one of the reasons we ended up paying that claim. So these are some things we've been working on and how it's going. This is, each year they kind of focus on a different area, and this year it's fleet management. So he provided this information for us, you know, do you have a policy? That's one of the big things, is everything, do you have a policy for everything? So if you wanna take a look at that, and if you have questions about that, let me know. Otherwise, we'll move on to this. This is the 212 project that they've been working on. I took part in a webinar last Friday, I believe it was as well. And they just talked about the progress with this. They are still working on funding, how they're gonna fund this. But this is the proposed, what they would like to do. If you can kind of see the intersection at County Road 51 and Highway 212.
Is that the Bongards
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
intersection? Okay,
Correct.
okay.
So is it gonna be a bottleneck on each side of that?
Well, there's a bridge, you know, yeah.
That's what they're working on.
okay.
If anyone has comments, suggestions, Glenn Gruenhagen, who's kind of leading up this charge.
So they're working at putting in this, what I would consider more than a minor intersection,
Correct.
even before the
Yeah.
212.
And this has been changing, this drawing.
Yeah.
Last time I participated in one of these events, which was just not that long ago, they had a different drawing, and now this is the drawing that they provided
But,
to us.
well, it looks like they, you know, I would assume that's supposed to be 4-lane right there, and that's why they
Yes.
necked it back down.
Oh, I
'Cause,
see.
mean,
And a
eventually, at
bridge.
some
So they
point,
make
you would
the- yeah.
see,
So
You know,
evidently,
they-
that's the path for the new
Yeah.
4-lane when it comes,
yeah.
is they'd just be adding that section now.
Correct.
Okay, any questions on the communications? All right, we'll move into item 8, 2020 Annual Report by the Historical Society. Dwight Grabitsky is here this evening to join us.
Dwight, can you make sure your microphone is turned on and close enough to you so that the recording picks you up, especially with the masks on? I find it harder to hear people.
Okay, I got the.
Yep.
You have in your packet, well, first of all, thanks for allowing me to come. I guess I enjoy the opportunities to talk about the Historical Society, talk about the museums. So, and if you do have any questions at any time, please do contact me. You have in your packet our annual report. It's very, very short this year, only 7 pages. But I would like to touch on a couple of items. We did receive a historical and cultural grant from the Minnesota Historical Society this past year, $24,724 grant to redo the lighting. Several years ago, we had guests from the Minnesota Historical Society. They came in, they inspected our museum, they looked at the different things that we had, and the thing that they noticed was that the lighting did not meet museum standards. It was destroying some of the cloth. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but one of the things that that historians are concerned about is preserving all of the things that you do have. And so things like light have an adverse effect on cloth, on pictures. And so the first thing they said was, you've got to do something about the lighting, and you've got to do it soon. We applied for a grant to get a plan. We got a plan, and now this past year we got a grant to do the lighting itself to follow the plan. It went rather quickly, the whole process. Grants Electric was contacted, brought in to do the lighting. It took them about a week to install everything. Once that was done, they were called back one time to tweak the motion detectors. The motion detectors were not doing what they were supposed to do. But anyway, that was the only time they came in. Later in the summer, after we had a little chance to set things back together, put things back together again, the lighting planner came out to make his inspection. This is one of the things that was a requirement for the Minnesota Historical Society, was that in addition to having the following all of the instructions as we had in the plan, the planner, Mr. Rich Rummel, came out, looked at everything, and we had a little problem. We had light leakage that wasn't supposed to happen. He contacted the manufacturer and was able to work with the manufacturer to resolve that. So finally, by the end of the summer, we had, I think everything, well, I think it was early September before we had everything working like it was supposed to work. The museum itself was open 20 times this year, mainly because the governor closed all of the museums statewide. So we were open for a short time. Our attendance was down quite a bit from the past, but it's still, we were fortunate enough to be open. There are a number of museums that, because of the traffic flow, they were never able to open. Those are the things that I really wanted to cover. As you turn down looking at our goals for this coming year, one of the items on there was to establish a Facebook page, and that we've done. So we are now on Facebook. We have 96 followers as of yesterday. I haven't checked it today, but it was one of the things that we really wanted to do, so that we're getting out there, letting people know who we are, where we are. The rest of the report you can look at. The numbers are there for our income and expenses. If there are any questions about any part of the report or anything about the museum or the Historical Society, I'm prepared to answer that now.
And you do have a few new members, is that correct?
Yes, we do. We have 2 new people on the board. And I think by the time we get ready to open, we're going to have a couple of additional volunteers to help us with the museum itself. We like to have 2 people there every Saturday. I can't always be there. Not all of the board members can always be there, but we like to have 2 people there on a Saturday, just so that there's some way that when we do have guests and visitors, we would like to be able to give them as much information to help them as much as possible. We're proud of our museum. It's not very big, but we've got a lot of interesting things that are there, and there's a lot of stories that go with the materials that we have on hand.
Wait, have you ever thought of, now that you have a Facebook page, doing like a little video to get people excited? Your son and I know each other on LinkedIn, and I know he's done little videos and pictures and stuff, and I like seeing what he's working on. Is that something anybody might be able to?
Well, I would like to be able to do that. I'm not technically, I'm not very good at that. We had Dan and Nancy Hislop put together the Facebook page for us. I can do things, I can add things, I can do things, but my talents as far as putting together a video or something like that.
Just thinking outside the box with COVID, it's just another way to get your name out there, if you can have a little video.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about like a private, walkthrough where someone, because I've been through the museum a couple of times, and I think the commentary that comes with it of, the staff members and volunteers talking about the stuff with COVID and folks maybe not necessarily wanting to go out and gallivant in different areas. If there was a way you could have, someone that's working there basically, videotaping it, but yet talking about it. Basically, it's like a private session. That might be a way of, reaching some folks who are not willing to come in person.
I would love to be able to do that if you've got the skills and you would like to help us, I would love to have your help.
Yeah.
I've got a camcorder.
I,
Well, there's, Google Duo, there's different apps that are free.
Facebook even, they can do.
You could, I'm not,
Facebook Live or something.
They can do
Yeah.
that would meet everyone, but I'm thinking like, it's a personal, where the person that's there, that's walking around and kinda pointing the camera and talking about the item. It's a personal one-on-one type thing, and then, clearly that individual would likely be making a donation as well for it. But yeah, for me, it's the talking and the history behind it and about each display.
I would love to be able to do it if, somebody that's skilled and talented that would be willing to help me. I would love to have them.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Grabitsky? Thank you, Dwight, for your report.
Well,
Appreciate it very much.
That's fun.
Keep up the
Come,
good work.
come see that, we're gonna be open on the 1st of May. Come see us. We've got we'll have a new addition or two to the museum. We've have much of what was on there last year. But there's a lot, with everything that's there, there's a story. So, come see us.
Thanks again, Dwight.
Thank you.
All right, item B, January Police Department report. Chief Konechny. Good evening.
Mayor, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Council peoples, good to see you here. January was not super exciting. We only had 137 calls for service, and the reigning champ one is still the traffic stops and that kind of stuff. But again, no major criminal activity that we had to deal with in January. And compared to last month, December was 134, so I think we're still kind of following a trend of COVID and cold weather. But yeah, nothing major there to report at this time. I did take our squad car 317 over to Maverick Auto to have an oil change one day, and somebody backed into it, cracked their bumper. But we know who it was, had a police report done, and I made an insurance claim on that. It's functional, nothing about the damage.
Is it just the plastic part of it? Or
Yeah, just kind of the
is
plastic
it paint
cover.
scuffed, or is it just like popped in?
Just like a nice little crack popped right in there.
Oh, it is a crack?
Yeah, nothing to maybe a few zip ties and some black duct tape can't handle, I think, so.
Yeah, if they just pop in, you can take boiling water and pour it on it, and a lot of times it'll just pop back out if it's plastic.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
with a
it was-
crack, that ain't.
Yeah, it was cold, so nothing's gonna give in this weather, so.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got a claim in with State Farm, and it was about $1,700 repair estimate, so. So we'll see. Can't have anything nice nowadays without cost you thousands of dollars, so.
So the individual left, or?
No, they were there getting air in their tire.
Okay.
And while they were wrangling their car, they backed into the squad car, and Latasha, was there when it happened, and so she had gotten the name and everything, so. So we were able to do a report and find out who it is, so. So other than that, not much as far as the month goes. So,
Slow down the last couple of weeks anyways, with people running around.
yeah, no kidding. No riots for the Super Bowl when Buccaneers won. So that was good. So, but yeah, and then I guess the other thing we were gonna talk about tonight, unless somebody had any questions about anything else. Yeah, we accepted Sarah Daley's resignation. She's going to work for the St. Peter Police Department. Gonna miss her, wish her the best of luck. But with that, I would like to ask the council to go ahead and authorize us to replace that full-time position. Because as it stands right now, we have Bailey who's still out on workman's comp. Her shoulder never healed right. She had to go back and have surgery in December. And so she's been out on workman's comp since December, and the soonest that maybe we can anticipate on having her back is probably first part of July, if we're lucky. But I don't know, it changes quite a bit. So on top of that, it's just me and another officer, and I think it'd be best if we hired a full-time to replace that spot, just to keep us in a good position with other personnel changes that might come throughout the year. So, is there any questions about that at all?
Well,
We're
with,
going to,
with her uncertainty and with, you know, possibly some other changes sometime throughout the year, I think we probably would be well served to fill that position.
Yeah, I wouldn't ever want to put the city in the position where it's just me. You know,
I have full faith in you.
oh, I do too. I mean, it'll be interesting, and if you don't ask a lot of questions about how things get done, we'll be just fine. But,
You
yeah.
can't just go up and deputize someone like the Wild West anymore.
Oh, I could try it. We'll worry about the legalities later on. I tried to recruit Michelle today. But
Yeah, you did try.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can sit up now.
You
so,
did try and I denied.
well,
So it might be kinda hard to recruit somebody.
you think about it. You think about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if the council's okay with that,
I need someone to make a motion to post for that position.
I'll make the motion to post for the position.
Who said second?
John? Motion by Councilmember Buss, second by Councilmember Thomas to authorize administration to post for the open position in the police department for a patrol person. Any further question on that? Discussions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried.
all right. Well, thank you very much. That's all I had for you folks, and I'll keep you updated on how that process goes there.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, item C, PowerPoint presentation from the Township Ambulance Fire Meeting.
Okay, just a brief recap of the PowerPoint that was presented to the township last Thursday. And I'll just briefly go over, the cost went up for both the ambulance and the fire department. It's easiest to see looking at the historical data here. This is for the ambulance. In 2022, it will be back up to $111.79. And that really has to do with the number of runs, the revenue being down. We did have to split our revenue during that trial period with Gaylord. That is one of the biggest things. Jamie and I actually were talking today. We were interviewing someone and then we were chatting. And I thought it was very interesting. She said she would like to not use that levy money that we designate towards the ambulance. If she could make the ambulance budget work with revenue. And the number of calls have been up this year, so that is kind of the challenge I set her. That should be a special fund, as in it should pay for itself.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, it does quite well. Our ambulance, the year before, it was so low in 2021 because the revenue was really, really high. So the ambulance, the higher the revenue we bring in, the less everybody pays. So, and then the fire, we talked about the fire calls. Let me get to the 5-year because it's the easiest to show it too. Fire goes up quite a bit each year. In 2022, they'll be looking at $459.95 per section. One thing about the ambulance, it is, there's a little heart monitor was factored into that $111. With the fire department too, they also need to pay for that SCV 25807 per section, they pay in addition to that 459 to pay for those capital costs. So you're looking at, I believe it's a little over $700 per section for the fire department. Capital and operating costs. Ambulance capital and operating costs 111. At the township meeting, there was some discussion about not buying another ambulance until 2030. The townships, you know, they were kind of contradicting themselves, because last year, the ambulance manager, Sarah, had brought up getting an ambulance in a few years. And,
For a half an hour, they
Yeah.
beat that to death.
yeah, I was gonna
About
say.
how many miles are on it,
Mhm.
why are we doing this, these are diesels, they last a long time. Yeah. Something I didn't think of that night when we were talking about it, and if we look at it differently with, you know, the fire, I forget what standard it is, but for a fire truck, your lead engine can't be no older than 15 years old.
Mhm.
The reality is, we've got a 2015 ambulance, and in 2030, that would be 15 years old. And if we look at it from that standpoint, our lead ambulance would be no older than 15. And then, you know, we'd be replacing the backup with the new one, and then the old one becomes, you know, the backup. You know, some feedback that I had that same evening last year with a representative from Ridgeview, he basically had stated that the amount of calls that we have in this area, and he was referring to Arlington, Green Isle, Gaylord, it promotes having one ambulance. So that's the mindset that they were going with based off of calls. So we have two, which, I mean, I do think it's a good idea to have a backup, but to have two that are, you know, nearly brand new with this small of a community, and the call volume just isn't really warranted. I guess that's my perspective.
So the one that we have,
So what are you suggesting?
I think the way that we have it written, where it's 2030 is a good thing to keep going with.
but isn't one of ours at 2007 though?
Yes.
One is, but our lead truck is a 2015.
Okay,
So again, if you look at it from that same perspective,
But it's not the same, because, the
It
fire, no, because the fire is replacing
Their oldest.
their oldest truck, because it's
And we would-
15 years.
we would be.
No, because
We'd
our
have the
oldest
brand-
one
we
is
would
at
have the brand new
07.
one.
He's suggesting that the 2015 becomes the backup.
Yes.
And then the new one's the 2000.
At its
It's the
15,
lead
2030.
truck.
in 2030, we got the brand new one at 2030. So
Yeah,
it's-
but I don't think it's the same as what the fire department was. But I get where you're coming
It
from,
is,
and that makes sense.
They're saying that the lead truck cannot be no older than 15 years old. And the same philosophy can be followed with the ambulance. We have a 2015 model, we have a 2007 model. Both of them don't really get that many mileage.
Right.
They're both maintained tip-top. And by the time 2030 comes around, with our plan that we have with the budget, we're putting money aside to pay for it, so we're not out trying to bond for this ambulance.
Right.
We're not increasing taxes crazy for this ambulance, we're planning for the next one.
Right.
so then,
Why, when was the
In-
next ambulance due? Proposed? Not till 2030 or before that?
2030 is
Oh.
what it said, didn't it?
Yeah,
But last year, when we were still using Ridgeview as our rep, she came out and said, well, in 2 years, we wanna replace this.
oh, yeah,
So that's what they were referring to, is,
Yeah.
well, last year you were telling us you
Yeah.
wanted a new engine.
Yeah.
Well, the city did not prepare that, now,
Right.
she did, representing us in a way, but, she also said that night that there was no standard that said you had to have it replaced.
Right.
And that's when everybody was like, well, I'm not, I mean, it was,
right,
they really laid into it. And that's kinda why I made the comment, well, you can't have it both ways,
So then in 2030, when we replace the 2015 model,
No,
No.
the 2007.
The 2007, your 2015 would be the back.
oh,
Becomes
okay,
the back.
okay.
Look at the 2007 right
Okay.
now.
Is the 2015,
that
is that
age.
the diesel?
That's the gas, right?
It's gas.
The 15 is the gas.
The gas, yeah, 7 is the diesel.
And one of the, I think, just talking to Ken Mueller and Ron Otto a little bit, is they were afraid that one completely just bombs out on us, that they were afraid that they were gonna end up with another $200 or $150 a section to try to.
Without much warning, really.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's what one of their main ones is, and a little bit of the background that at least 3 of those people had was that Ford has a power plant engine, the 6.0 diesel, and is very notorious for blowing head gaskets, crankshafts, cams, injectors, very, very expensive, and the life expectancy of those is very short. Well, they thought that, all that combined into it was gonna equal big dollars.
Yeah, so you can evaluate what it costs, right? So, without doing the math, we've got, I don't know, what's the ambulance, 350,000, is that the number?
Oh,
I
yeah,
rounded up to four
Is
fifty
it
thousand.
450?
It's 350 right now, and I
Yeah.
figured, okay, 2030, I bumped it up
So
to
you
450.
divide
450,
that
yeah.
by the years and look at what it costs us per year, and then,
What do we budget for maintenance on it right now? Do we?
The budget for maintenance on
Ambulances, I mean,
well, I mean, the last time when we purchased the ambulance in 15, the one that we traded off, the old one, had 55,000 miles on it, okay? So I understand where they're coming from with worrying about this backup that we have right now. But by the time we get to 2030, if it only has 50,000 miles on it, even though it sits and idles, I get that, I understand.
Yep.
I mean, the chances of us or of it happening, I mean, nobody knows, but
so if
I
we're
can see it maybe more in where they're running and running and running like Ridgeview does or like other communities do.
8,500.
And putting miles and miles and miles on,
8,500.
So at $450,000 at 15 years, $30,000 a year. So if we had to stick 1 year, if we had to stick 30 grand into it to replace the entire engine to get us through until 2030, it's still less, it's still cheaper for us
Yep.
than trying to fund
Mhm.
this. And it might be a hard pill to swallow, but you gotta look at the total cost of it.
Mhm.
And it just doesn't, it just doesn't work out to have that burden on 2 of them. I know it would be nice, and I know, it may sound good and all, but it,
Well, I'd say if Ridgeview recommends we only have 1, we have 2. Very rarely is the instance where when you get the backup, is the backup gonna go down?
no, maybe they've got
Well,
other
they-
ambulances
and-
that they could pull from, but what he was saying is they would station 1 ambulance.
Mhm.
They wouldn't be stationing 2,
I know there are other communities our size that only have.
right. And the nice thing is with 2 is if one does go down, you got time to figure out what you're gonna do and stuff. And plus, I like the idea that they cycle them. What she said was that they're swapping, they're using it.
Yep.
They're not just.
Oh, yeah,
Letting it sit.
yep,
So,
yep,
yeah.
yep.
No, if we're transferring someone and then we get a call, it allows us some flexibility there. So it is nice, but, you don't have to have the latest and greatest model to be doing that.
So,
I think the plan that's in place.
Leave it.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
fine.
okay. That was the biggest thing really that came out of that meeting was that ambulance.
Yeah, that's.
Well,
I was gonna say, that was,
just so those members that weren't there that night know, we have at least 2, maybe 3 townships who are not supporting the ambulance program here. They're not contributing. The
one
others,
of them that was there.
one of them was represented
One of
there.
them was represented there, one of them that was there only paid partial last year.
Yeah.
But he didn't wanna call them out.
No, but the fact is that those costs will then be paid by the city rather than the township.
We pick that up.
We pick it up.
Just because I'm new, is there a particular reason why they don't
Well-
pay?
Because they don't have to.
Because they don't have to, they are both probably on the border. Is there three? I think there's three of them. Both, all three are on the border where they can call an ambulance service from a nearby town other than Arlington that can get there just as quick.
So they figured the service by.
And that costs them,
You dial 911.
And you get
That was-
dispatched.
Don't they?
that was my
don't they
question.
depict
What,
who
They-
goes based off of that map?
They do. It's the service area, exactly. So
So
if
I
it's in
don't-
our service area,
Unless-
then we go,
unless the
unless we
person,
can't go.
unless the person requests, I don't wanna go to Arlington, I wanna go to Glencoe.
Doesn't,
Then they'll call,
no.
they can call.
No, you can tell the ambulance wherever you wanna go. If I get picked up, they don't have to bring
Oh,
me
I
to
see, I
Arlington.
see.
They don't, I can say I wanna go to
Okay.
Brainerd and they need to take me to Brainerd, but the Arlington ambulance,
That's
if
just
I'm
gonna
in
do it.
town, is gonna,
Not necessarily because they're gonna take you, you can end up somewhere else, but they're gonna take you to the closest facility based on.
First,
no.
yeah.
Well, I was on an ambulance, and I can tell you that's where you'd be going.
So, well, I have to say though, if anything if you talk to the ambulance and you tell them that you refuse to go to place X, they will take you somewhere else.
I would,
I would beg to differ about that.
yeah,
Well,
I would.
Because I can tell you this, depending on your injuries, you have to assess.
Well,
the
right.
person. Well, that's what I'm telling you, you don't get a call, you get picked up, we're taking you here, yes, you make a transfer, but you don't get to call that, I mean.
Very
you would-
rare.
You would be in all kinds of problems if you listen to the patient.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just think
Yeah.
that the dispatcher is supposed to go to.
The service
map
area.
that's
The service area,
service area,
yeah.
And this is who we're gonna dispatch to go there.
Yep,
I know what one of the townships was thinking, because I had a chat with their chair, and I think they think that they're boarding with a private company, and they will just call up that
Oh,
private.
they wouldn't even go through dispatch, you mean?
Calling 911 then.
Correct.
Wow.
But they
So
wouldn't
the
call
entire
911,
township?
they would call Alina, is the neighboring.
Yeah, I don't think I wanna be doing that.
Boy.
That's, I know what they're
Showing
thinking.
off
Boy.
their-
Well, right, but there's more people than just them.
I mean, maybe they won't, maybe that's.
I
what
think
they want.
that's the gist of what I got, because they said they had the option to call
Well,
the other company.
'Cause, I mean,
Interesting.
the
But I guess if
dispatch
it's
would
a-
dispatch fire, if you know, say
Right.
you fell in your shower, ambulance isn't gonna be able to, come and lift you out of there, most likely they're gonna ask for extra help.
yeah.
Yeah, if there's a car accident in their area, our ambulance is gonna come. Okay.
All right,
No, and- Yeah, and I think, thank you letters maybe just for the folks that are, just something that,
for the ones that are supporting it.
Supporting
yeah,
us.
I mean, they're supporting.
Sure,
Maybe even
sure.
a hand signed letter or a hand signed note from the ambulance for the folks that are supporting.
Oh, that's a good,
Yeah,
from the ambulance.
Yeah,
I was gonna include just a thank you, but
yeah.
hand sign from our ambulance would be better.
Yeah.
And of course, when it really impacts us is when we do have to get a new piece of equipment, and they would normally
They
be
have to pay.
paying a share of it. Well, these aren't gonna be, these particular townships, if they're still refusing to pay at that time,
We won't pay that either.
would not be paying that either, so.
Mhm.
All right, anything else on that? Any other questions on that meeting?
Price is it.
All right,
I
Jim?
think there was some good information there with the, the call time, so the individuals that did show up that weren't necessarily buying into it, maybe that was part of the merger, that they felt it was gonna be longer time, so who knows?
I think everybody was happy.
Maybe
Mhm.
they'll decide to join back in.
yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, item D, January financial report.
I rounded this to 8% of the budget versus 8 point whatever. it was
3.3.
supposed to be.
3.3.
There you go, I just rounded to a whole number. Administration is sitting, we're doing well, we're sitting at 8% where we should be. Public safety, is doing very well, the police is under budget right now. Everybody's under But everybody overall, I gotta summarize the whole thing, is we're sitting very well.
Mhm.
If you take a peek at everything. I do have to point out the enterprise fund,
Yeah,
we pay our bonds.
oh, sure.
So, one that always bugs me is the storm sewer, because some of that comes out of, storm water is part of when we pay our bond payments. You just see we pay them. So we make those bond payments and we take a big chunk out of like the storm sewer. And I don't think those have been raised enough. I think when we talk budgeting, we really have to look at our enterprise funds. Because this one is always not bringing in enough revenue to cover the expenses, and it has to do with those bond payments coming out of there.
Hmm.
So I think we need to address that. And our own sewer too, AGI does fine. Sewer,
I think there was two of them, the electrical, and, last year we raised it, but yet, that was like the first raise for a long time.
Mhm.
And I know the cost went down this last year, so it's kinda hard to keep that on our radar. Cause it'd be nice if we were gonna do an increase, it'd be
it should be a
a
small,
little one, so that it,
we had a study done by People Service looking at water sewer, AGI, and they had recommended, this was like in 2016 or 17, a 2% increase each year. I think the city should have probably considered that you do smaller increases versus a big shock to
Mhm.
people.
well, like we had last year, right? We
With electric,
Pretty
yeah.
good
2 years in
increase.
a row, yeah, there were increases in electric. So it might be something, I don't look at it when we talk about it next year, let's talk about those enterprise funds, because you're supposed to have 50% in reserves in your enterprise funds. Ours do not all of them, so that's something we need to address.
Councilmember Batcher, didn't we probably 3 or 4 years ago look at the storm sewer, cause we were doing measuring of parking lots and that type of thing? And we were making adjustments at that time.
Yeah, we did, we made some, I don't know, I think we backed off the storm sewer, but we did raise, I think, the sewer, and we did raise
Yeah,
maybe water,
But if we're doing
something like
measuring
that, I
parking
can't-
lots, that all goes in the storm sewer.
Storm sewer.
Because that's when that was just when the school was finished, and we were having some
Mhm.
disagreement about, or no, maybe that was snow removal.
Snow removal.
That was snow removal, okay.
When
But
we
there
were
was
measuring-
something, the
It was brought
large
up,
users or ones with large parking lots would pay more because their parking lot is shedding more storm water into the system.
I know we had somebody out that was talking about our storm sewer, probably about 5 years ago or something like
Yeah.
that, saying that we probably should raise that a little bit
And
at that
I
point.
think we did
And,
at that time probably, but,
Well, we raised something, I think we raised something else, and we didn't wanna raise that as well.
okay.
I think with the,
Yep,
and
I think
that's what
so.
that decision was made, and then
Mhm.
we
Is
also,
it common practice to have that broken up, like the storm sewer part, and for myself speaking, and I've said it before, there's no storm sewer by me. When I get the bill, and I've had two other people talk about their property, no storm sewer by them, so every month I'm paying this, like I see it as a tax. So you're taxing me, it's not really storm sewer, but what it's funding is the street improvement project, and I get that, but you're charging me storm sewer, there's no storm sewer anywhere near me.
Do you
And-
dump it?
And I'm not alone, there's a couple others that are just feeling
Mhm.
the same way when they open the bill up. But what that storm sewer fund is paying for is the portion of the city's, financial stake in the road, the street.
Street
improvement
projects,
right?
yep, yep.
It's not necessarily the fact that I have storm sewer.
no,
And I
it's,
get it, you gotta pull from the community, but
Yeah,
it's wording,
it's-
it's a tax. It's not a storm sewer. We're taxing to cover the city's expense.
we're pulling out of that fund to pay for that portion of the improvement. So the portion of the improvement that storm water or storm sewer that you're paying on your bill, even though you don't have storm sewer there, is from the road improvement that we did on Brook Street or on a different street,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
That's what that fund is going
I just
towards.
don't get why that's not on the property.
Well, the same thing happens with the sewer, same thing happens with the water. I mean, the reason why we have extra fees in there, whatever, is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
right? I'm paying, even though you use water, you use sewer, you're still getting taxed above and beyond what you use because we're trying to put money into those funds to pay for the projects. I mean, it's the same thing. Same thing even with the electric. You know, you're bumping that up a little bit more than what it actually costs so that we can pay for the, and then, you know, this makes it look nice because we know exactly how much we're spending on storm sewer. We know how much we're spending on sewer, the water pieces or whatever too. I don't know. Breaking it up so we know where it actually goes, the money. I mean, we could probably lump it all together in just the sewer, right? And then that fund would look a lot better, maybe. Or it might be even.
Yeah, it's nice to have it broke up and some gets treated and some doesn't. Some goes
Right.
directly into the creek. The wastewater, the storm sewer goes directly into the creek, so.
I just wanted to point out too,
Yeah.
before we move on.
Yep.
With our debt funds, the 2009 is the one we paid off. And the recommendation from our financial advisors, if we want to pay off another one, the next one would be that 2012. And we did pay off a 2014.
Yeah, what I was struggling with, what's actually owed?
In the 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just.
But 9,000 is what we were supposed to pay this year. I wouldn't think it would be that much if that was a 20-year bond. We're only paying 9,000.
Yeah, but did we hit our, where we can pay it off without penalty?
For the 2012, yes.
Oh, we did?
We can pay off the 2012
Okay.
without penalties.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know what that one is, and, you know, if it's 75,000, maybe we can pay that one off.
I have that on sheet paper now, but I have it from last year, because we sold all that up last year.
The further we go, the higher the interest goes. They get into that 5 or 6%.
Mhm.
Just remember, we pay this off, then the portion that comes out of sewer and water, storm sewer, will make those, further up whole.
Yeah, but we can reallocate that one to, you know, those payments to the next, the
2015.
That's what we did.
Mhm.
That's what we did last year. I reallocated them to 2012, so we paid down.
Yep,
now.
yep.
Okay, any other questions on the financial report? If not, I'll move on to item 9, second reading of ordinance 333. I can read the little paragraph, yep. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 7, Section 7.04 of the Arlington City Code relating to the city's designated truck routes. Reading as follows: the City Council of the City of Arlington, Minnesota, to promote public safety, health, and welfare, hereby ordains an official truck route for the City of Arlington. The truck route map is attached to Chapter 7, Section 7.04A1 of the City Code. The official truck route map is hereby amended as illustrated in Exhibit A attached here too. And you all received a copy of that. I know there was comments made at the last meeting and no objections that I can remember. I think it all makes sense. Is anything,
So are we all legal now?
No, we have to vote on it.
we have to vote on
We have to
it?
vote on it, then it has to be in the newspaper.
Right, this is the second reading, so.
I'm just trying to get it going before the next one happens.
In the paper, then we put up our signs, and then
Well-
we'll be good.
I mean, there's some power lines that are pretty low that I thought look even lower than,
For Christmas Day.
yeah,
Maybe they flexed up out of the way.
I don't know either.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions on this ordinance change? This will constitute the second reading, and we will take action on it a little further down the line. Resolution, or item 10, resolution 11-2021, resolution declaring sufficiency of petition and setting a public hearing on the proposed vacation of an alley. This doesn't happen every day.
No, it does not. So Attorney Arneson, feel free to jump in. This is the petition by Excel Energy to vacate the little portion of the alley. I prepared a resolution stating that we'll be setting a public hearing date, which is the 15th of March, to move forward with that vacation. With a legal description of where the alley is located. Is there anything you'd like to add about this?
I'm not sure that anyone perceives the existence of that alley. It would be just north of where that transformer station is, off Main Street.
It's kind of by Four Seasons Park over there.
Yeah.
In Four Seasons Park, yes. And it's a short, dead-end alley. It goes from, what is that, I think First Street to the railroad tracks.
Correct.
And so it's never been used by the public, but it was platted, so it's legally an alley. If we vacate it, the ownership of the alley would revert to the adjoining landowner, which would be the power company. So in essence, the whole idea of this is to allow them the room to expand the transformer plant somewhat.
Correct.
Which they have plans to do this summer, I believe.
Correct. Once we get this part done, then they'll move forward with building with the permit to expand that substation.
So they currently own the large piece of property where the substation is, but also the little triangle piece
North and south.
bordering Main Street, yeah. So this would just take care of the void in between.
Correct.
Looks like it's a parcel about 16 feet wide and varying in length from 50 to 66 feet, so.
There it is.
So what are the other alternatives? Vacating the alley and/or is the alley, is it just the easement that we have on there? I mean, we don't own that property, right?
Attorney Arneson, did you hear the question?
Yes, any street or alley that's platted as part of the original subdivision does belong to the city. It's a public right-of-way. So if you're talking ownership, yes, the city does own the alley at this time. If it vacates the alley, then it's giving up that ownership right. And under the law, any right-of-way that's vacated reverts half and half to the owners on both sides of it. But in this case, it's the same owner on both sides, so the alley would just be absorbed by the power company.
I wonder if there's any of those railroad underground crossings right there where we could take a little bit off of what we gotta pay.
Before, but we could give them.
Well, it sounds like they're already planning for some sort of expansion, so they
Correct.
really need the area.
And the representative from Excel Energy will be at the March 15th public
Yeah.
hearing.
And I would just guess that that was plotted when the roads were all laid out.
Correct.
So,
It's an old part of town.
yeah.
Mhm.
I guess I don't see an issue with it. I mean, I wouldn't suggest people go wandering around that area anyways, and if it's a public alley, then maybe they're more free to be
I would.
hanging out.
Okay, we would need someone to introduce resolution 11-2021.
I'll introduce, resolution 11-2021, resolution declaring, sufficiency of petition and setting a public hearing on a proposed vacancy of an alley.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
John, is that you? Craig?
Great.
If I'm not looking, I'm not sure. What's that at? I'm not looking at you.
We both did, so,
Oh.
it was a tie.
Resolution 11-2021, a resolution declaring sufficiency of petition and setting a public hearing on the proposed vacation of an alley. Resolution introduced by Councilmember Morgan, second by Councilmember Bliss. Is there any further questions on the resolution?
We
Hearing,
don't have anything underneath that alleyway, right, as far
I
as
don't think it's ever been used for city services or,
I don't think it's been used.
Kirby knew I asked Kirby about it when it first came in too, and he said, we don't use it for anything.
Yeah, if it wasn't like the heart of our power right there, then I probably wouldn't be, so supportive of it, but the reality is that's our infrastructure for the whole
substation.
community.
yeah, it's pretty
No,
important.
no, I agree with you, I'm not,
Yeah.
all that I'm wondering if there's anything underneath
Just
there
a-
that we have there.
Just a
Yeah.
caution,
They
yeah.
dig
Yes,
in or
just a
something.
precautionary,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, we would have been billed from the railroad by that, by now.
Well,
I was kinda hoping there would be a bunch of it that went through there, and we'd be like, whew, we don't have to pay for that anymore.
Yeah, true, it'd be their problem.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, vote by roll call. Councilmember Thomas?
No.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan?
Yes.
Councilmember Bus?
Yes.
Councilmember Batchor?
yes,
4 votes in favor, none opposed, 1 absent. The resolution is adopted. Resolution 12-2021, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute agreement for Minnesota Court Data Services.
This resolution was sent over by our new attorney, Ken Jansen, who will be handling prosecution services, misdemeanor and petty misdemeanor cases for the police department. This resolution needs to be passed, and it goes along with the agreements, the 2 agreements that are later on in the agenda that I'll ask council to approve.
I'll introduce
And
resolution.
if I can explain further, the criminal court computer system is a closed system. You can't have access to it unless you have a valid official reason, such as being a prosecutor. And when I was doing the city prosecutions, when they first created this system, the city had to submit similar agreements for me. When the criminal prosecutions were passed over to the county attorney's office, we then had to enact similar agreements to allow the county attorney to access the system for Arlington prosecutions. So now we're doing the same thing for Attorney Jansen.
Yeah, I don't remember doing that for
don't
Civil County, but
You should
it makes sense, so
Is
I'll
it-
introduce resolution,
Is it annual, or is it a one-time
the
thing?
one I think, and
One time,
I've never
okay.
done it before, I don't.
It's a one-time thing.
Okay, I'll second it.
Yeah, introduce resolution 12/2021, authorizing the city administrator to execute agreement for Minnesota Court Data Services.
Okay, resolution 12-2021, introduced by Councilmember Batchor, second by Councilmember Morgan. It is a resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute agreement for Minnesota Court Data Services. Further discussion? Hearing none, vote by roll call. Councilmember Morgan.
Yes.
Councilmember Bus.
Yes.
Councilmember Batchor.
Yes,
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes.
4 votes in favor, none opposed, 1 absent. Resolution is adopted. Resolution 13-2021, a resolution adopting ordinance 333. This is the one that I just did the second reading of. An ordinance amending chapter 7, section 7.04 of the Arlington City Code relating to the city's designated truck routes and approving summary publication.
So we had our first reading on February 1st, our second one tonight. I will submit the summary publication to the newspaper next week. So once it's been published in the paper, then it is official.
I'll introduce resolution 13-2021 for the new updated truck route.
second,
Resolution 13-2021, introduced by Councilmember Morgan, second by Councilmember Batchor, and it is a resolution dealing with the changes made to the truck routes in the city of Arlington. Further discussion? Hearing none, vote by roll call. Councilmember Batchor.
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan.
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes.
Councilmember Bus.
Yes.
4 votes in favor, none opposed, 1 absent. The resolution is adopted. All right, that takes care of the resolutions, and as far as I can tell, we'll move on to new business. Approve or deny master subscriber agreement for the Minnesota Court Data Services for government agencies.
Hopefully you had a chance. I did send these to Attorney Arneson just to make sure everything was okay, before putting them on the council packet for approval. This is the one that goes along with the resolution.
Are the fees and invoices part of the city's responsibility directly, or are they billed through Jansen, through Attorney Jansen, or anyone know?
I would guess those are, Ross, do you know who those fees for the service are billed through?
What fees are those?
For the Minnesota Court Data Services?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember that now. There was some token amount of fees. I think that was billed to the city at the outset. So I'm not aware that there's any new fees involved in this.
Okay, so the fee, initial fee then is one that's paid right up front, and that allows access to the data
For the city.
for the city. So then
We
they,
would have already
That's
paid
my
that,
recollection.
okay,
Unless
Okay.
it's an annual thing.
No, because I don't remember it coming out of on bills.
So we've already been using that service just through a different
Now we're
attorney.
just authorizing.
We're just
everything.
giving them permission to use it.
So we're just paying them to do the paperwork for that person to use it, most likely? Yeah.
yeah, I'm assuming they don't get
Yes.
billed each time they tap into it for data.
No.
It's just a one-time thing allowing
Yeah.
access.
Correct.
Right, when I was on the system, I don't recall any charges ever,
Okay,
coming up on that.
No, I
Okay.
don't
This is
remember seeing it.
basically a, court services system.
right.
Can you scroll, is there a resolution that we need?
No, it's just
No, it's just approving
a-
this agreement.
Alright,
someone make a motion.
Someone make a motion to approve this agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve the, agreement with, master subscription
I'll
for
second.
the Minnesota Court Data Services.
Motion by Councilmember Morgan, second by Councilmember Thomas, to approve the master subscriber agreement for Minnesota Court Data Services for government agencies. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Item 15, approve, deny request from Minnesota Government Access MGA login account.
This is the user acknowledgement form for the Minnesota Government Access login account, goes along with it. So I
Okay.
need council to make a motion to approve this as well.
Motion to approve of user acknowledgement form.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Batchor, second by Councilmember Morgan, to approve the form for Minnesota Government Access MGA login account. This goes along with the previous action.
Correct.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Item 16, approve or deny amendment to water service line policy.
This is back in front of us because Mayor Nagel noticed something, an inaccuracy with this. In our policy, do you remember last year we revised this to say that I, as a city administrator, would give them 30 days notice when they have a leak?
Oh,
They have 30 days, remember we revised this
Yep.
like last year, to get it fixed, otherwise we go in and fix it and bill them. In the policy, it said that, say it leaks in front of Michelle's house, she was responsible all the way up to the water main. But in the ordinance, it says to the shut-off valve, not all the way to the main. So I, I had talked to Attorney Arneson and said, doesn't the ordinance trump a policy? Yes, it does. So I said I would go in and make the policy match the ordinance. So now you'll see in here, the landowner is responsible for the maintenance, repair, or replacement of all components of the supply system from the shut-off valve to and including internal plumbing system on the property.
Could we have that say the city's shut-off valve? 'Cause
This
some
is the
folks
exact
that-
language from the ordinance.
Is that?
I pulled the exact so that it matches
Yeah,
exactly to our
I'm just thinking
ordinance.
somebody sitting in their basement, well, there's the shut-off valve right there, what are you thinking? You know,
I
but-
pulled it from the ordinance so that we wouldn't have any more.
Well, we're talking about the shut-off valve out in the front
No,
yard.
I know
the
that,
front
but it
yard.
doesn't say that.
Yeah.
And,
Ordinance reads, private property owners shall be solely responsible for the maintenance, repair, and replacement of all components of the supply system from the shut-off valve to and including the internal plumbing system of the property.
That's exactly what I put in here.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering
Yep.
if both of them shouldn't say the city's shut-off valve.
Just adding the word cities?
City in front of both of them, yeah.
Do we wanna go through the process of amending an ordinance for that?
Yeah, that's,
It's a little bigger deal to amend the ordinance, so that's why I'm just curious.
I'd leave it, I'd leave it as.
probably.
I remember that, Joe, and then, if I ever have a problem, finding that it's the one inside my house.
Well, I'm telling you though, I mean, someone's
Well, I
gonna bring
mean,
it
you
up, and then Attorney Arneson, what do we do? What if they take us to court? What if they win? And now we're paying for the price?
Well, I think, it's a valid question, but I think there's what they call a term of art. In other words, terms that are used in various contexts. And I think if you say shut-off valve to any street worker, plumber, whatever, they're going to think of that shut-off in the middle of the yard.
Yeah,
So,
all right.
Okay.
I also did change number 5 to say that we would do our best to locate the water main and the shut-off valve. It had said, the language was that the city would attempt to locate the water main, I just included and shut-off valve.
Because over the years, sometimes they get buried underneath
Correct.
Yeah.
a lawn.
Yeah.
Well, they start with them flush, but
But they get buried.
They-
Mhm.
Okay, does anyone wish to make a motion to make this change to the policy?
I'll make a motion to change the policy for the water service line policy.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Thomas, second by Councilmember Buss to approve the amendment to the water service line policy as discussed. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay, any committee updates under miscellaneous business? Any committees that, probably not? We've heard about planning and zoning and EDA, so. Open discussion.
The light that's out, right by Main Street.
Main Street,
Now
the
the
one
other
that's-
one is kind of
the other one's flickering,
I know,
yeah.
I was like torn between bringing it up, I'm sure
He
it's
knows
kind of
about it.
a sore subject.
Didn't you?
I brought that up.
Yeah, you,
Oh, was that the,
yeah, and
When Kirby was here.
he's still struggling with the getting the
That
right
one is
part, I think.
Fine, he said that one was fine.
The one that's flickering now, he said was
one is
fine,
off
but it
and
is
now the other
flickering.
one across of it
Right.
is just flickering like
Oh,
crazy.
yeah, I know, I brought that up.
Yeah,
The one
okay.
was out, and the other one
Yeah.
was flickering, but he said that one was fine, but it's not fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's got the
I would
blinks.
take a look at it. That's all I'm gonna say.
That would be really annoying.
Mhm, it's like
yeah.
strobe light sign
I'm,
house.
I'm guessing he's aware of both of them, but just
I'll have a word.
mention it again,
Mhm.
yeah. All right.
Tomorrow.
Anything else?
Snow removal in parking lots,
Mm-hmm.
or if, because I know people are probably stockpiling because they don't wanna pay to have our new fees or whatever. But is there, if the snow pile is like, interfering with the site, the line sight at the intersection, is that something that should be brought up to who or what, or do we have anything that says that you cannot pile snow in an area that's gonna,
Well, you can't block sight lines of an intersection with anything, be it bushes, snow.
okay, well,
So you're talking about cars on the street are having, they can't see?
Issues because
oh
of,
yeah, I
See
probably
what's-
almost got in an accident 3 times.
Which-
because of
Where?
an
Which
intersection by the
parking
bank.
lot?
By the bank, it's not the bank's parking lot though, probably by,
That
little, shop.
it's by, what would it be, Old Chef Place. And then the little,
oh,
right there, they push it all the way out to there.
Sort of by
It's a
the,
yield sign.
by the drop-off mailbox there in the alley, is that?
No,
No?
on the other side of the street, on the east side,
Okay, okay.
so southeast side of that intersection where,
it's like a refrigerant or
it used to
HVAC,
be Bob's
isn't
or
it?
whatever.
Mhm.
plumbing.
Bob's Plumbing and Heating, yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's Chef Craig's old building, that parking lot
Okay.
all the way to the, south side of
We
that
need to
parking
find out
lot.
who's plowing
So
that.
there's
and-
like this huge
Mhm.
pile of snow there, and it's just, if it was a stop sign, it would be no problem, because you would be stopping and you'd be able to get out there and see.
mm-hmm,
But I know there's been like multiple times that I yield and I try and look, and
You can't
honestly,
see.
I have to stop because I cannot see.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's just a question, I mean, I
Sure.
don't know, I don't know if it's in our policy or not, but, I mean,
no,
that's kinda hot.
yeah.
Is there a setback? I know it's 36 inches high, but is there a setback of X amount from curb?
it's that 25-foot triangle.
Mm-hmm,
There's a 20,
just like
I think it's,
planting bushes or fences, they can't go,
yeah.
yeah.
I think you go back from the point of the intersection 25 feet each direction, and then
Mhm.
draw a line. And that's the zone that has to be
Sight
open.
line.
Sight line has to be open.
Yeah, that's kinda tough, I think.
Okay,
Okay.
I mean, at least for me, I don't know.
You're
I
short,
drive a little car, I'm not.
you're short behind the wheel.
And I'm behind the Thanks, Mayor.
oh my gosh.
Does anybody know if bow hunting deer is legal in city limits in Arlington?
It is
It
not.
is not?
No.
Okay, since we were talking about
Asking for
our,
a friend, are we, Joe?
I was asking for myself, but just curious.
I'd say if you don't get caught, let her rip.
I'll be on the front page.
All right. Any other items? If not, a motion is in order to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Batchor, second by Councilmember Morgan to adjourn the meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.